The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com.
Petition 47-21. This is a public hearing before the Leominster City Council. The Botanist, 1775 Lock Drive, request change of use of 1775 Lock Drive from a registered medical marijuana dispensary to an adult use marijuana facility engaged exclusively in product manufacturing on site. We did get a letter from the building inspector indicating that he had no objection to this petition. If I could just ask those in attendance on behalf of the petitioner, they could just identify themselves, please.
Sure. My name is Phil Silverman from the law firm of Vicente Cedarberg. I'm here on behalf of the Botanist. I'll just introduce the rest of our team. Brad Doyle, I believe, is also here from the company, and Jim Frazier as well.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. What are their titles, Attorney Silverman?
Yeah, I'll have to ask them the specific titles. Brad,
I am the general manager of Massachusetts, so I oversee all operations in the state of Massachusetts. And Jim Frazier is my counterpart in Florida. He's a general manager of Florida, but he has an extensive knowledge and experience in building out kitchens. So he's on for technical support also too. And Jim, I'll let you introduce yourself also.
Yep. Jim Frazier, I'm the GM of Florida, and as Brad indicated, I was brought into the project because my past experience and knowledge of building out edible kitchen.
Okay, thank you very much. Attorney Silverman, if you want to, you or whichever member of your team wants to give us a quick summary of the petition.
That's what I'll do. Great, thank you. So again, I'm Phil Silverman here for the Botanist. We are here seeking a special permit for my client to operate an adult use product manufacturing facility at 1775 Lock Drive. Just point out some of the basic background information. This is in the industrial zoning district, which is the appropriate zoning district for this type of a use. The site, I think, is familiar to a lot of you because previously the company was going to be using it as a registered medical marijuana dispensary, but it's switching that to product manufacturing. But the same buffers from residential districts, schools, et cetera, all apply, and this facility meets all of those buffers under your zoning ordinance. I guess the real distinction between what we were doing before and what we were doing now is that this one is a lot simpler in a lot of ways. We won't have sales or customers on site. This is just being used to take oils, which will come from the client's facility in Sterling, Massachusetts. Those are extracted oils. They're brought over here, and then they are infused into marijuana products, edibles and such. It's basically, this is being used as a commercial kitchen and nothing more. There is, of course, no on-site consumption at this facility as well. I always like to remind people of that. It'll operate from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. There's really no modifications to the exterior of this facility. The site has 18 parking spaces. Under your zoning, only 6 spaces would be required for a manufacturing facility, so this has substantially more spaces than that. It's more than adequate for this use. The company expects to have maybe a total of 15 employees when it's running at peak, although we wouldn't see any more than 12 employees at any given time. So, again, plenty of parking, no change to what you've seen before, same lighting, same signage that's there right now. And of course, like with any marijuana facility, we've got the extensive security protocols, procedures, and equipment. This is a limited access facility.
Yeah.
All employees enter through what's called a secure vestibule. They have identification badges that have to be worn at all times.
Muted.
Don't get buzzed into the main part of the facility until they demonstrate their identification to the security personnel. We've got cameras around the exterior of this facility. We have a 360-degree view around it. We see everybody that's coming and going. And we also have cameras on the interior, every door, every window, and every room where marijuana is handled or stored. There's a primary alarm system with primary notification to a company. If that is somehow compromised or there's a power outage, there's actually a backup notification system to a different notification company. There's also an on-site vault. All of the product at night is stored in that vault. This is not, intended to be Fort Knox or utterly impenetrable. The idea here is that we have a layered security. If somebody were to try to break in at night, they're going to be seen by the video cameras, which are monitored 24/7 off-site. They're going to have numerous doors to get through, and then they get to that vault, which would take quite a while to get through. By that time, the local authorities have been notified and they're there. So, these facilities in Massachusetts are all extremely secure for that reason. All of the employees also, just as a matter of state regulation, are background checked. Just a couple of other details. Marijuana waste. All marijuana waste is stored on site in the vault. When it's ready to be disposed of, it is taken back to the company's site in Sterling, Massachusetts, where it's disposed of. We don't do any disposal of marijuana waste here at this facility. The only waste that is taken care of at this facility are boxes and the normal types of things you might see in any other manufacturing facility, and those are taken to an on-site dumpster. The other, feature deliveries, you'll probably see deliveries and loading deliveries out and in 2 or 3 times a week generally. These are done in unmarked vans, and there's a whole host of procedures and protocols that have to be followed under the Cannabis Control Commission guidelines. Regarding deliveries, random routes are used. You have to have 2 agents in the vehicle at all times. As I said, there's quite a bit around transportation in the CCC that's required. So we'll be in compliance with all of those features, as just like probably a lot of the other marijuana facilities that you've probably seen come before you as well. And so with that, I think that's sort of the basic summary, but we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, so John Dombrowski speaking. So there won't be any marijuana plants actually grown at this facility?
Correct.
Okay. And can you give me an idea of what type of products will be manufactured?
Sure. Brad or Jim, you want to take that one?
Right, do you want me to jump in or you want to take it?
Go right ahead, Jim.
So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be producing several different products there. We're going to be producing a gummy type product that will be clearly identified with the Massachusetts THC logo on it. And we'll also be doing a series of different chocolate products that will be done there as well, along with the required Massachusetts THC logo on it as well. So we'll be doing a gummy product and chocolates to start with. And over a period of time, we would expand that into a hard candy, toffee, different types as the project moves forward.
Okay, and these are all manufactured just with the oils that are extracted from the cannabis?
That is correct. Distillate would be transferred in from the Sterling facility. And per our recipes and SOPs in our formulations, we would be infusing the base product and running it through a mechanical process to produce those items. And they would all be pre-measured.
And how many jobs or employees do you anticipate having at the property?
So I think what we've laid out is probably about 15 employees, but probably no more than 12 at any given time on the site.
That is correct.
Okay.
Those are full-time
all right.
jobs also.
Okay, I don't have any questions. I'll go first to Legal Affairs. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, do you have any questions or comments?
I do have a couple of quick questions. First of all, what are your hours of manufacturing?
9 to 5 is what we'll be operating.
Monday through Friday?
Yeah, do we operate on some weekends?
Well, it depends on how demand is. If the demand is there, we may extend the shifts, but typically they'll be 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
All right. And just so I'm clear, you mentioned base products. So will you be buying gummies and chocolate products and then infusing them with the cannabis oil at your facility? Is that basically what you're doing? Is just the infusion process? Or are you making things from scratch,
No.
gummies from scratch, chocolate?
We would start with a recipe, and what we would do is we would infuse the base recipe, and then we would mechanically do the molding. So we're not buying pre-made product. All this product would be made with actual ingredients on site.
Okay, all right, thank you for that clarification.
Now the chocolate would be bought in like 10-pound blocks, then brought into the facility and melted down into a liquid form and tempered, and then we would infuse that, then make the finished product with it.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. And in terms of distribution, so the facility will be, seeing truck traffic, obviously, bringing supplies in. And then in terms of distribution out of the finished product, what kind of schedule do you think you'll put forward for that? And will the products be going back to the botanist facility in Sterling, or will you be providing finished product distribution out of the Lock Drive location?
Probably a little of both, but the majority of it will be shipped back to our Sterling facility, where we also wholesale different products from the Sterling location, so we can put the customer's complete order together in Sterling. There may be cases where a customer requests just a direct shipment of, if we produced all gummies, then it may be a case where that unmarked van would pull in, get the products from the Leominster location, and then go make their delivery. But the majority of the product will be shifted back to Sterling. Now, based on our production, how many times, I would estimate at least every other day the van would take a delivery from Leominster to the Sterling facility.
Okay. And in terms of truck traffic, either taking deliveries out or bringing materials in, that would happen between 9 and 5, between your normal manufacturing hours?
Correct, unless we work to deal with the company that's going to be supplying our supplies, and they said, hey, our truck is going to be there at 7 a.m., and we would have somebody at 7 a.m. to take that product in. And that would be the basic ingredients that Jim was talking about, sugars, flours, corn syrup, and stuff like that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I'm all set for now, Counselor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Zephyr. I'll go to the third member of Legal Affairs, Councilor David Cormier. Do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just one very quick question. I know that you touched upon the security aspect there. Is all the security infrastructure that was there originally, is that been installed and it's still there today? Has there been any alterations to it?
Great question, sir. The only alterations will be after the modifications of the dispensary now into a kitchen. We'd have to relocate some of the cameras. We will maintain or exceed the amount of cameras that were originally there. And then prior to operational, obviously, we'd invite the chief of police back in to do an inspection, as he did the last time, and made a recommendation to put a camera in the break room, which we did. So we would do the same thing. So the CCC has strict regulations. They want to make sure there are no blind spots behind any of the machinery that we have, so we may have to relocate them. But we will maintain the basic amount of cameras that we had prior that you all saw. We'll probably end up exceeding them based on the equipment that we have there to ensure there are no blind spots.
Okay, good, because I know that had been, inspected the last time and was sort of given the go-ahead by the police chief at the time. So as long as he's involved again and approves of all the measures, then I think I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. And we'll do the same thing again. We'll invite you all out for a tour prior to the final approval also.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All set, Councilor Cormier?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do any other councilors have any questions or comments?
Councilor Dombrowski, Councilor Feckley.
Councilor Feckley, you have the floor. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So I guess this would be directed, or it could be directed to either gentleman. So just so we're clear, and for any members of the public that are listening or will be reading about this, you mentioned customers. So can you please be clear on who your customers will be?
So there will be no customers that will come to this facility. The customers that we will wholesale this product to will be licensed dispensaries throughout the state of Massachusetts. There will be no customers that come to this facility. It will strictly just be employees. And again, our customers are the other dispensaries, licensed dispensaries throughout the state of Massachusetts that we will wholesale this product to.
Okay. And as far as the product is concerned, I'm assuming that, you know, obviously you've done all of your homework about, you know, the need for it or the hue and cry for it. So this is something that the dispensaries are asking for, more edibles?
Yes. So that's a great question. So as we see the market, the dispensaries, more and more dispensaries open within the state, most of these dispensaries are opening up as standalone retail operations only. They do not have their own capabilities to wholesale or manufacture products. So that's why this need is definitely in the market at this point in time. Great question.
All right. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, does any other councilor have any questions or comments at this time?
This is Councilor Dombrowski, Councilor Frida.
Councilor Frida, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Financially, are there still restrictions in terms of cash sales or any type of banking? Do you have restrictions to that at this point?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Can you repeat your question?
Sure. Financially, I know it's an issue for a long time. Anything to do with the federal regulations with banking, that there was a lot of
Sure.
cash deals.
Yep.
What will be involved in this one? Is it cash or do
Sure.
you have banking?
So actually, one of the good stories about Massachusetts actually is that there are several banks that are doing business with these companies. So it's actually, cash transactions are pretty rare. They're extremely rare in the wholesale context like this, but even in the retail context, places are accepting debit cards now. So we've been fortunate in Massachusetts to have banks that have been willing to deal with these companies, and this company has a great relationship with its bank. So that's really a problem that has not impacted this company.
Okay,
And
because I know
to elaborate a little, I'm sorry, to elaborate a little bit on that also too, we currently wholesale out of our Sterling facility now to a lot of dispensaries within the state of Mass, and everything is done by electronic wire. So there is no cash that's ever going back and forth between the vans. None of our personnel are carrying cash. It's all done electronically. We give them terms, 15 or 30 days for payments, and it's all done electronic transfer.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that was a concern because I know the last time this was presented, as were many others, cash was the only way to go. And I know GFA up the street, you know, was the first to really get into banking, you know, for the product. So it's good to see that that's not a concern anymore. I am thrilled that it's not retail. I mean, I had a real issue with that, as everyone knows. You know, and as I understand, the abutter that had some concerns before is okay with everything now because it's not going to be the constant traffic. There's a concern about overflow traffic parking in his lot. So that's been a little bit resolved. And, you know, I had a couple of really good conversations with Brad And I think my questions are all answered, and I thought you did a good job on the public portion of the regulation. For although there weren't many people calling in, it was done, and it was done the right way. So I'm good with my questions at this point.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Frida. Any other counselor have any questions or points they'd like to make? Okay, before I go to the public, as I'm required to, Attorney Silverman, just for the public perspective, if you could just summarize the highlights of the.
Sure. The host agreement you've got is the company pays Leominster the greater of $100,000 or 3% of gross revenue derived from the product. I believe there may be an additional, and that's on an annual basis. There may be an additional $20,000 payment. I think it might be just for the first year, to cover some additional costs, probably associated with negotiating the agreement and getting ready for the opening. But by and large, it's every year, it's the greater of 3% of gross revenues or $100,000.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll now go to the public. Does any member of the public wish to address the council either in favor of or against this petition?
Unmuted.
Hi.
Caitlin, I think we got a lot of static there. Oh. Okay. Hi, is this a member of the public? Hello?
I think the person who was trying to speak, Councilor Dabrowski, is the one I had to mute because of the background noise. Do you want me to try to unmute again?
Yeah, do you mind?
Sure. Can the caller who was trying to speak? Go ahead.
Yes, my name is Emily Bredberg, and I live at 28 Ice House Road in Leominster.
Okay,
I
go
was
ahead.
calling about item C 63 about the Human Rights Commission. We emailed
Excuse me, you're in the wrong spot. Stay tuned. When we get to the public forum, you'll have an opportunity to address that.
Okay.
Right now, we're in a public hearing on another matter.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Second time, is there any member of the public that wishes to address the council either in favor of or against petition 4721? Third and final time, does any member of the public wish to address the council either in favor of or against petition 47-21? Okay, hearing none, I'll bring it back to the council. Does any member of the council have any last questions or comments at this point? Okay, hearing none, Mr. President, if I could just do some quick subcommittee work.
Sure.
I think I'm very happy to see this come before us. It's a far less intense use than was originally granted. So I would be in favor of this. Councilor Zephyr, I'm not sure your position.
No, I agree with you. I think it's a much better use and has certain benefits to the city. And I think, the plan and all of the detail that the company's provided has been very helpful. And no, I'm fine with proceeding with this.
Okay, and Councilor Cormier.
Yeah, I as well, I would ask that we close the public hearing, and I am certainly in agreement with this proposal.
Okay. With that being said, Mr. President, I would ask that you close the public hearing.
Very well, that may be done. We will now start the 6:45 hearing. On C60, is the Chairman of Finance ready to proceed?
Yes, Mr. President.
Unmuted.
I'd like to open the public hearing for 6:45 p.m. on C-60. I'm David Cormier, the Chairman of Finance. With me is Councilor Pauline Cormier and Councilor Angelini. C-60 Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the attached loan order be adopted. Ordered that $1,101,116 is appropriated in addition to the $11,294,000 previously appropriated by vote of the City Council on February 24th, 2020, for the purpose of financing costs, aeration basin, and secondary clarifier upgrade projects. I do believe that I am required to read the loan order. Is that correct, Madam Clerk, during the, hearing?
Yes, that's correct, Councilor Cormier.
All right, so you'll have to bear with me. I'm going to read and then we'll proceed from there. This is regarding ordered that $1,101,116 is appropriated in addition to the $11,294,000 previously appropriated by vote of the council on February 24th, 2020, for the purpose of financing costs of an aeration basin and secondary clarifier upgrade project, including without limitation all costs thereof, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow such amount and issue bonds or notes therefore under General Law, Chapter 44, or any other enabling legislation and or Chapter 29C of the general laws, that such bonds or notes shall be general obligations of the city unless the treasurer, with approval of the mayor, determines that they should be issued as limited obligations and may be secured by local system revenues as defined in Section 1 of Chapter 29C. That the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow all or of such amount from the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust establishment pursuant to Chapter 29C, and in connection therewith to enter into a financing agreement and or a security agreement with the trust, and otherwise to contract with the trust and the Department of Environmental Protection with respect to such loan and for any federal or state aid project or for the financing thereof, and that the mayor or the treasurer is authorized to enter into a project regulatory agreement with the Department of Environmental Protection to expand all funds available for the project and to take any other action necessary or convenient to carry out the project in this vote. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bonds or notes may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount. So I did have a conversation earlier with Jake Fleming, and I know he's on the line. I can quickly summarize. Basically, what happened was the aeration portion of this project was way over. There was a huge inflation in the equipment costs, and according to him, there's going to be soon another 30. They're looking at another 30% cost, so they're trying to move this along. There is no need to raise rates, as he explained in his explanation that everybody should have gotten. We do have a loan that we're going to pay off early, and we are going to absorb some of the overruns into that because that loan is going to be paid off, and it's going to free up some funds for us to make up for the difference of the overrun. And I believe he is on the line, so if anybody has any questions, we certainly can ask them.
Mr. Chairman, before you open it up to questions from your committee and the council, I note it is 6:59, so we might just wait a few seconds here. It might be a convenient place to stop, and we'll start the meeting formally. And then, of course, I'll entertain a motion to recess so we can resume with your hearing.
Okay.
I think we're just a few seconds away from our 7 o'clock. There we are, start time. If everyone would rise and recite with me the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and I'll take attendance of the councilors that are present, starting with Councilor Frida.
Present.
Councilor Dombrowski.
Present.
Councilor Shalafo Zephyr.
Present.
Councilor Feckley.
Present.
Councilor Angelini.
Present.
Councilor Ardinger.
Present.
Councilor Pauline Cormier.
Present.
Councilor David Cormier.
Present.
And I shall be recorded as present. All 9 members of the City Council are in attendance. Does the Chairwoman of Records have a report?
I do, Mr. President. I have the minutes of the meeting of March 8th, 2021, and the special meeting of March 15th, 2021. And I find them to be in order and ask that they be placed on file.
Very well, that may be done. I will now entertain a motion to go into recess.
Make that motion, Councilor David Cormier.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier. Is there a second, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilor Pauline Cormier. All those in favor of the motion for recess, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, by a vote of 9-0, we are in recess, and I just want to let the people know who are on the line to speak in the public forum, whether it be on the Human Rights Commission item or another item that we will be getting to that next, as soon as we finish this public hearing that we are in the middle of. So with that being said, Councilor David Cormier, Chairman of Finance, you can continue with 660.
Thank you, Mr. President. So at this time, I guess I'm going to ask, before I go to my committee and other members of the council and the public, I'm just going to ask Jake Fleming, and I know Roger Brooks is on, if you just want to give a quick summary. I know I kind of highlighted it, just a quick summary. It might reduce some of the questions, and then we'll
clicking in and out, looking at my words. So,
I apologize for that. I fixed it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So Jake Fleming and/or Roger Brooks, if you'd like to add anything, we might be able to reduce the number of questions that will end up being asked, and then we'll proceed from there. See anybody?
Yeah, this is Jake Fleming here. Yeah, so just to recap what David said. So yeah, we're requesting a little over 1.1 million to increase the loan authorization. It is directly related to the bids coming in above the budgeted amount for the aeration portion of the project. The first part of the project was the primary and secondary clarifier, which I'm sure many of you have seen the cranes at the treatment plant, and that's well underway and nearing the completion of that phase of the project. So the bids came above. That's the direct reason for the increase in the appropriation being requested. We are to be able to take on this increase in debt service without impacting the ratepayers, which I know is the most important thing. With the increase that was voted on last February at the beginning of this project, the last loan order, and in addition to paying off a sewer improvement loan that we have a annual $105,000 debt service. We're going to pay that off by the end of fiscal year 22. This new loan order will go into effect for fiscal year 23, and the increase yearly is going to be $55,055.80 with this new increased appropriation. So that $105,000 will cover that and leave some money to put into capital projects in the city.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that explanation. At this time, I will go to members of my committee on finance, see if they have any questions. Councilor Pauline Cormier.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier. I don't have any questions. I mean, obviously, this is one of the most important functions of the city government and of the department. So, I'm in support of this, and thank you for letting us know that it's not going to be an increase in the rate. And like I said, this is one of the most important functions, so I'll be happy to support this.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Peter Angelini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Fleming, good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Fleming, good evening. Great. Quick couple of questions. First of all, what portion of this project has the city get a commitment from the Clean Water Trust to fund? Is that being applied for these cost overruns?
So we currently have the approval for the $11,294,000. We need the approval from City Council to request the increase from the Clean Water Trust. So this is the first step in that process. The hope in the plan is to include this $1.1 million into the Clean Water Trust funding in the same loan. So increasing that loan as well.
Terrific. And this isn't the result of a agree with DEP. This is a project that was initialized by the city, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, I really don't have any further questions. I am delighted, though, that the funding mechanism via DEP and the Clean Water Trust provides funding at extremely attractive interest rates. So I'm sure that factored in and give you the ability not to trigger another rate increase. So with that being said, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Angelini. Is there any other member of the City Council that has any questions or comments regarding this loan order? Seeing none, I will now open this up to the public. Is there anybody on the line from the public that would like to speak in favor of this loan order? Once again, would anybody from the public like to speak in favor of this loan order? And for the third and final time, would anybody like to speak in favor of this loan order? Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak against, in opposition to this loan order? Once again, would anybody from the public like to speak in opposition to this loan order? And for the third and final time, would anybody from the public like to speak in opposition of this loan order? Seeing none, Mr. President, if I may, I'm just going to poll my committee really quick. It'd be my opinion, we need to continue this work. And, after having a discussion earlier with Mr. Fleming, we got to, the quicker we can do this and secure pricing on product, which keeps going up and up and up and up, the better off we will be. So it's my opinion that we certainly continue this project and approve the loan order. So I'll check with Councilor Pauline Cormier. Are you in favor of closing this public hearing and moving forward?
I am.
Okay, and Councilor Angelini?
I am in agreement.
Okay, thank you. Mr. President, we now closed the public hearing, and back to you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Cormier. We are now going to conduct the public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for any member of the audience to speak on a matter specifically listed on the council agenda. Speakers will be asked to come to the microphone and state their formal name and address, along with identifying the specific item, or items they wish to address. Each speaker is respectfully asked to keep their comments within a 2-minute time frame. The council will not be responding or answering any questions. However, at the discretion of the council president, clarification may be given. Is there any member of the public that wishes to address the city council this evening in the public forum?
Hi, it's Emily again. Sorry for speaking out of turn earlier, but I would like to speak on behalf of the C63 Human Rights Commission.
Emily, first thing you
agenda
have
item.
to do, excuse me, Emily, the first thing you have to do per my preamble was to identify yourself by complete
address.
name and address.
Emily Bredberg, 28 Ice House Road.
Okay, and you want to speak on C
63.
63, you have the floor. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. We are very excited about having a Human Rights Commission in Leominster. And we also know that the most effective human rights commissions rely on community collaboration and buy-in. Earlier today, we emailed the City Council and Mayor about our proposal and request to make this a collaborative process with the community. And we ask you to delay your support for a Human Rights Commission until this community collaboration is established, or commit tonight to have some of these examples of collaboration that we are speaking to formally embedded into the Human Rights Commission program. So there's three things that we're looking for. We are hoping that we can have community nominations for the Human Rights Commission. We understand that it is mayoral appointments for commissions, but we hope that community members can nominate before the mayoral appointments, and the mayor can appoint from the community nominations. We also ask that there is a majority BIPOC representation in the Human Rights Commission, and that we ask that we have we ask that we commit to a process with the community will collaborate in writing with a mission statement for the community for the Human Rights Commission before it's established formally.
Okay, are you all set?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to address us in the public forum?
Hi, I'm Janelle Hebert.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your name, please?
I'm Janelle Hebert.
Thank you, Ms. Hebert. And your address, please?
Yep, 20 Imperial Ave.
Okay, you have the floor.
Okay, so it's on the Human Rights Commission. So I think this is a wonderful idea. My husband and I are both local attorneys, and we've spent our lives helping people with human rights issues in Leominster. We have seen between us and many of our colleagues many human rights violations over the years, and a lot of people don't quite understand what human rights are. It's one of those terms that everybody hears it, but it's like, what does it really mean? And so the basic premise of human rights is that the government acts or fails to act on human rights. So the government would fail to act on human rights violations, or the government would act by committing human rights violations. And so I really like what Emily said about having the community nominate the members, because you can't have the government nominating people to be on a committee to oversee the government. And so it's kind of like having the wolf in charge of the hen house. For it really to work, it has to all come from the community. Otherwise, it won't be trusted, and people will not feel comfortable voicing and really trying to get to the heart of some of the human rights violations. So the majority of human rights violations come from judges, clerks, prosecutors, public administrators, any sort of person who works for the state, so, or for, the government. So if you have those people involved, it just is the opposite of what I think would get to the heart of it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you very much, Ms. Hebert. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to address the City Council in the public forum?
Hello, I would like to address the city council.
Very well. Please identify yourself by name and address first. Are you still there?
Yes. This is Pauline Penny Himlin, 72 Lincoln Drive.
Very well. You have the floor.
I am also speaking to C63, establishing a human rights council in Leominster. So, community human rights commissions have been in place for decades, like in Fitchburg, or they've been appointed in recent years and have gone many iterations as the times call for, or newly appointed this year due to renewed awareness of discrimination, inequity, and human rights violations. I want to highlight the 3 requests as put forth, and then we've had, over 50 signatures of constituents of yours supporting these requests. And I would just like to highlight these in the context of the Department of Justice, who put out guidelines for an effective human rights commission. Their community relations services promulgated these guidelines for commissions, just as we're proposing, based on research studies and best practices in 1998, and then they updated them in 2003. So again, the 3 requests are adding a step to the nomination process to advocate for requiring members of the Human Rights Commission to be nominated by a committee member first and then sent to the mayor, a community member first and then sent to the mayor. And second, that we want to ensure that the commission membership represents the racial, gender, sexuality, age, ability, and economic diversity at all times with a makeup of at least 50% of people from these groups. And as we have not seen a plan or a concrete vision for the Human Rights Commission, we would advocate that any plan include an open and equitable process for the community members to collaborate in writing the mission statement and having input on the work that the Human Rights Commission will do. So just to highlight a few points from the guideline for an effective commission, number 1, you need to build public trust and confidence, and that's fundamental to its effectiveness. To build public trust, an important approach is to talk with key individuals in organizations, private and public agencies, schools, and to collect opinions and views regarding the need for a human rights commission. And it is vital to seek input and respect from the views of the very community members that the commission is tasked to serve. And the community, therefore, will best know what are the various economic, political, education, and social issues that are facing the community. A successful Human Rights Commission needs visibility and public support, and careful selection of its members signals to the public that the commission is competent, fair, and inclusive. And each commissioner should be committed to the philosophy of inclusion, equal opportunity, and fair treatment. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Ms. Himlin. Is there another member of the public that wishes to address the City Council in the public forum?
Hello, my name is Nastasia Lawton-Stickler.
Your address, please.
114 Blossom Street.
Okay, and you're speaking on C63 as well?
I am. Thank you, counselors, for having us.
You're welcome. You have the floor.
Great. So, as my colleagues already so eloquently put it, we are both really enthusiastic and excited about the Human Rights Commission being on the City Council agenda, and also feel very strongly that this needs to be a community process. And I just wanted to highlight that the public letter that we shared with the Leominster community on March 9th, the day after we shared it with both the mayor and the City Council, as my colleagues had mentioned, got over 50 signatures. But what really struck me was the comments that we got back as people signed. And it was really clear how much people care about Leominster as a city and how excited, enthusiastic they were to support work like this. We saw many people who were excited to get involved both in the potential planning of a commission, as well as potentially being members of that commission. And we just saw a lot of really strong community support. And so we feel like, only in the past 2 weeks, if we've got this groundswell of community support, we feel like these commitments that we outlined, these 3 commitments, will be really integral to creating a commission that people will continue to be enthusiastic about and will continue to trust. And if we take our time and make this process truly collaborative with the community, I think that we'll end up with a commission that truly reflects how invested we are in our city and how much we want to collaborate with the leadership to make something that is equitable and accessible for everything. So again, we're just really excited that this is on the agenda, and we're really hoping that the City Council is open to taking the time that a collaborative process like this deserves. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Stickler. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to address the City Council in the public forum?
Yes. Hello, I'm Adeline Hebert, and I live at 20 Imperial Avenue.
You have the floor.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm so excited as well. I just wanted to illuminate that there are 26 gateway cities in Massachusetts that have, and 11 of those have human rights commissions. 3 others also have very similar programs. So that's just about half of the gateway cities in Massachusetts. They're paving the way towards furthering equality. And Leominster could definitely be one of these pioneers. At the same time, as a lifelong community member, I feel it's most important to involve folks from all backgrounds for an HRC. And most important for this process to be a ground-up process and not top-down. I think a human rights commission would be essential in protecting all citizens of Leominster, but only if there is consistent community trust and collaboration. I would strongly discourage moving forward with this plan until we establish a citywide nomination process, until we prioritize that the membership is representative of all voices in the city, and until we commit to a process where the community input is absolutely prioritized in the formation of the Human Rights Commission and in its mission statement. Yeah, thank you all so much, and have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Higgins. I'm sorry, Ms. Hebert. Okay, is there any other member of the public that wishes to address the council in the public forum?
I would, please.
Okay, please identify yourself by name and address.
Hi, my name is Brooke Gilmore, and I live at 54 Green Street.
Very well.
Yes, thank you. I'm here also to speak on matter C-63 in regards to the proposal for the Human Rights Commission. I'd like to echo all of the previous callers' enthusiasm for this proposal. This is something that is really exciting and encouraging to see on our city council docket, particularly in 2021. And I'm so just really blown away by all of the energy that I'm hearing around this, and that there seems to be energy across our community in favor and in support of the establishment of this essential commission. I just want to reiterate and support the 3 proposals in regards to the community-based nominations and membership, and commitment to a collaborative process for mission establishment. In a lot of the legwork that many of us did in researching human rights commissions throughout the state, we heard from even some of the most long-established commissions, such as the City of Newton, which was established in 1973, that even all these decades later, they're finding that their work is only as effective as their community buy-in and the trust that is built with the process of working with the community on the Human Rights Commission. And so we'd really love to take that insight that we've seen from cities such as Newton and build that into the process of establishing it here, so that in 30 years, we don't look back and say, oh, we should have built this with community buy-in and trust from the ground up. We want to put that in place now. And it sounds like there's a lot of community-wide commitment to doing so. So we're really excited to engage the City Council in embedding that into the establishment of this commission. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ms. Gilmore. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to address the council in the public forum? I'll ask a second time, is there any member of the public that wishes to address the city council in the public forum? And a third and final time, is there any member of the public that wishes to address the city council in the public forum? Hearing none, I'll declare the public forum closed. Okay, we are back in session, starting with communications from the mayor and C62.
C62, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $50,000 be made to the Fire Capital Outlay Expense Account, same amount to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund regarding repairs to 210 Lancaster Street.
C62 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course.
Very well. C62 has been given regular course. Moving on to C64.
C64, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $30,750 be made to the Municipal Building Maintenance Expense Account, the same amount to be made from the Stabilization Fund.
C64 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular.
Very well. C64 has been given regular course. Moving on to C65.
C65, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $59,613 be made to the Library Expense Account, the same amount to be made from the Library Salary and Wages
You
Account.
guys have worked so
C65
hard.
is referred to
Blow
the
me away.
That should be all
C6.
set now.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. C65 is referred to
Muted.
the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course.
Very well. C65 has been given regular course. Moving on to C66.
C66, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $62,924 be made to the Fire Capital Overlay Expense Account, the same amount to be made from the Stabilization Fund. Council President Bedanza, it was also requested that we amend this from overlay to outlay.
Oh, okay. I will let the Chairman of Finance do that once I refer it to him.
Thank you.
C66 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course, and you can amend this right now. I'll make a motion that we amend the account to the outlay, the Fire Capital Outlay account, not overlay.
All right.
I'll second that amendment.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, the amendment is passed. Moving on to C67.
C67, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $140,000 be made to the School Department Transportation Expense Account prior year, the same amount to be made from the Stabilization Fund.
C67 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Once again, first time on the calendar, regular course.
Very well. C67 has been given regular course. Moving on to C68.
C68, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $20,000 be made to the Snow and Ice Overtime Account, the same amount to be made from the Stabilization Fund.
C68 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course.
C68 has been given regular course. Moving on to C69.
C69, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $230,000 be made to the Snow and Ice Expense Account, the same amount to be made from the Stabilization Fund.
C69 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Once again, Mr. President, first time on the calendar, regular course.
Very well. C69 has been given regular course. Moving on
Mr.
to
President?
appointments. Yes, Councilor Frida.
Just before we move on, could we get information on C42 before the next meeting, just to see what we're doing with fire department or what the plan is for 210 Lancaster?
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that the Chairman of Finance would be happy to do that. And thank you for your interest in that. Okay. All set, Councilor Frida?
All set. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. Now we're going to move on to appointments, starting with the first one of Christopher Reedy.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the confirmation of the appointment of Christopher Reedy to the Board of Assessors for the City of Leominster for a term of 3 years, effective immediately.
That appointment is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the agenda, regular course, and I would ask Madam Clerk to invite Mr. Reedy to our next meeting for an interview.
Okay, very well. That appointment has been given regular course, and the clerk will set it up for an interview before our next meeting, if that's appropriate.
Thank you.
All right.
And if there's no objection, the other appointments can be read in block, as the outcome will be the same.
I was going to suggest that very point. Good thinking.
Okay.
Okay, that may be done, Madam Clerk.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of Kyle Shelton as a volunteer to the Office of Emergency Management. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of Stanley Parker as a volunteer to the Office of Emergency Management. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of Luann Longenecker as a volunteer to the Office of Emergency Management. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of Fred Longenecker as a volunteer to the Office of Emergency Management. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of Leslie or Les Reagan as a volunteer to the Office of Emergency Management. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of Donna Reagan as a volunteer to the Office of Emergency Management. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the reappointment of Teresa Sauerbutz to the Recreation Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2022.
Okay, let's take the first 6 of those, which are all to the Office of Emergency Management. And I will refer those 6 to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. These, as read, will all be regular course with interviews, and I will defer to Madam Clerk as to whether we should have them at the next meeting or whether we should break them up into smaller groups.
Actually, as of right now, we have no public hearings scheduled for our next meeting on April 12th. So we would have time for it if it's amenable to you and Council President Bedanza.
It's fine with me. Is that okay with you, Madam Chairwoman?
That's fine with me. That's fine.
Okay.
Just,
Thank you very
trying
much.
to keep the time. And then we have the last one.
Yeah, and then we have the last appointment this evening, which is Teresa Sauerbutz, which is a reappointment, and that will be referred also to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Mr. President,
Right,
if I
and that-
may interrupt for a moment. Teresa Sauerbutz is not a reappointment. She has not been on that commission yet, just an FYI.
Thank you for pointing that out, Councilor. That's important to know. Okay, so with that information, Madam Chairwoman, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, since will be a new appointment, it would be regular course, and we will also ask Madam Clerk to invite Ms. Sauerbutz to come down for an interview.
Okay, very well. That may be given regular course and set up for an interview as well.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Moving on to, and Councilor Cormier. Moving on to petitions, first time on the agenda. I think these are all secondhand dealer licenses, so I'm going to suggest, and I would imagine that the Chairwoman of Ways and Means is in accord that we can take these in block too.
I am in full accord, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, you may proceed.
55-21, George's Fine Jewelers, doing business as House of Relics. Request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 1292 Main Street. 56-21, George's Fine Jewelers, Inc. Request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 255 North Main Street. 57-21, Fred's Auction Service. Request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 92 Pleasant Street. 58-21, Crown Jewelers. Request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 12 Lindell Avenue. 59-21, The Repair Palace, Inc. Request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 11 Sac Boulevard. 60-21, GameStop, Inc. Request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 26 Orchard Hill Park Drive.
55-21 through 60-21 inclusive are all referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, these will be regular course, and the referrals, we either have referrals or we are in the process of collecting referrals, so we don't have to ask for those. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. 55-21 through 60-21 inclusive have been given regular course. Moving on to matters before the City Council, starting with the City of Leominster Financial Report. Is the Chairman of Finance ready to proceed with that?
Yes, Mr. President. We started the fiscal year on July 1, 2020 with $14,189,152.27. So far, we've earned interest of $24,963.71. Plus, we added from an appropriation of free cash, which was $7,400,164, for a total of $7,425,127.71 added. To date, through and including the items that are on the agenda for the first time this evening, plus all the others that we've already approved so far this fiscal year, we will have spent $4,441,679, which will leave us with a balance of $17,172,600.98, and that is the financial report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you again. Moving on to C60. Is the Chairman ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President. C-60, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the attached loan order be adopted. Ordered that $1,101,116 is appropriated in addition to the $11,294,000 previously appropriated by vote of the council on February 24th, 2020 for the purpose of financing costs for an aeration basin and secondary clarifier upgrade project. We did have a public hearing tonight. We got an explanation of the reason why we had an overrun, all material related. And I know we already polled the committee, and it sounds like we have a unanimous recommendation to grant C-60.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. You heard the recommendation of the Finance Committee, the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-60. Is there any further discussion in the council? Hearing none, this will be by roll call vote, starting with Councilor Frida.
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Feckley.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Arninger.
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yay. By a vote of 9-0, C-60 is granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President. Madam Clerk, I do believe I have to read this all again. Is that correct?
You're correct.
Okay, here we go. Ordered that $1,101,116 is appropriated in addition to the $11,294,000 previously appropriated by the vote of the council on February 24th, 2020, for the purpose of financing costs of an aeration basin and secondary clarifier upgrade project, including without limitation all costs thereof, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow such amount and issue bonds or notes thereof under general law, Chapter 44, or any other enabling legislation and or Chapter 29C of the general laws. Such bonds or notes shall be general obligations of the city unless the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, determines that they should be issued as limited obligations and may be secured by local system revenues as defined in Section 1 of Chapter 29C. That the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow all or a portion of such amount from Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, established pursuant to Chapter 29C, and in connection therewith to enter into a financing agreement and or a security agreement with the trust and otherwise to contact with the trust and the Department of Environmental Protection with respect to such loan and for any federal or state aid available for the project or for the financing thereof, and that the mayor or the treasurer is authorized to enter into a project regulatory agreement with the Department of Environmental Protection to expend all funds available for the project and to take any other action necessary or convenient to carry out the project in this vote. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call. Councilor Frida?
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yay.
Councilor Feckley?
Yay.
Councilor Angelini?
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger?
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier?
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 9-0. The order is adopted. Moving on to C61. Is the chairman ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President, C-61, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $5,500 be made to the police salary and wages account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund. This is regarding to authorize the establishment of a new captain supervisory position submitted subsequent to the submission of the annual budget. So basically, the mayor, prior to July 1, wants to get a new captain in place and have the position funded. And we do need an additional amount of $5,500 to do that. So I had a very brief conversation today with Acting Chief Kennedy, and basically this will be for the most part April, May, and June, which will get us through the rest of the fiscal year. And then there should be some money populated in the budget under the captain's subtitle in our budgets this year. So I can check with members of my committee, but it would be my opinion that we reestablish this position. I think it's long overdue. So it would be my position that we grant C-61, and you can check with members of my committee, Mr. President.
Thank you, everyone. Much, Mr. Chairman. Councilor Pauline Cormier?
I agree with the chairman. This is long overdue. I support it.
Thank you. Councilor Angelini?
I'm in agreement as well, Mr. President.
Very well. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of Finance to grant C-61. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call. Councilor Frida?
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yay.
Councilor Feckley?
Yay.
Councilor Angelini?
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger?
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier?
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 9-0. C-61 is granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, order that the sum of $5,500 be appropriated, be made to the police salary and wages account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, the order is adopted. Moving on to 45-21. Is the chairman ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President, 45-21, Gregory C. Chapdelaine, purchasing agent, request to enter a 5-year contract for personnel, property collection, and valuation services. We do have a letter here dated February 25th, 2021 from Gregory Chapdelaine, the city's purchasing agent. I am not going to, as I traditionally do, I'm not going to read the entire letter. I'm going to summarize it. basically, as everyone here probably knows, we're all seasoned veterans of the city council. The city can only enter into a 3-year agreement. They need our authorization to enter into a longer agreement. And this is not a new type of a contract. We've already had one like this. They've already gotten their feet wet. They know what they were looking for when they put out the bid. And by having a 5-year contract, it allows for more continuity and can get a better price when they go out to bid, basically, on these types of services. So, you know, Mr. President, it's my recommendation that we grant 45-21. I think this has always worked out well for the city. And, you know, we get that continuity and we do save money. So it's my recommendation that we grant 45-21, and I'll ask you to check with members of my committee.
Very well. Councilor Pauline Cormier
I agree.
and Councilor Angelini.
The goods and services inflation is running pretty hot lately, and I think if we can take these out to 5-year contracts, we'll be saving money ultimately. So yes, I'll be in favor of this as well.
Very well. Thank you, Councilor Angelini. We have a unanimous recommendation from the Finance Committee to grant 45-21. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call vote, starting with Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Feckley,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. 45-21 has been granted. Moving on to 46-21, is the chairman ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President, 46-21, Gregory C. Chapter agent requests to enter a 5-year contract for certification of real estate value services. Once again, we have a letter here dated February 25th, 2021 by Gregory Chapdelaine, the city's purchasing agent. And for the same reasons, you know, we are going to have continuity in this contract as well, and probably get a better price. Once again, this is not a new type of contract for the city. They've done these for these kind of services in the past, so they've kind of know what works and what doesn't for when they need to put out the bid, and they're ready to get into something more long-term now that they've had the experience of having these contracts in the past. It will save us money, so it would be my opinion that we grant 46-21, and I'll ask you to check with members of my committee.
Very well. Councilor Pauline Cormier
I agree.
and Councilor Angelini.
I share the same sentiments as the last request, so I would make it unanimous, Mr. President.
Very well. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant 46-21. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call vote, starting with Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Feckley,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. 46-21 is granted. Mr. Chairman and your committee, thank you very, very much for your work this evening. We'll now move on to legal affairs. Starting with 26-21, is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 26-21. Elizabeth Wood, Economic Development and Planning Director, request to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to lot frontage and adding a definition for paper streets. We had closed the public hearing and scheduled a legal affairs subcommittee meeting. My understanding is the planning board director is temporarily unavailable. So what I would request is that we I do some quick subcommittee work, Mr. President, but my
Sure.
recommendation would be we table 26-21 for study, and we can get it back on the calendar and schedule a subcommittee meeting once the planning director is available. There's a lot of wordsmithing to be done on this particular one if it's to pass. And I just ask that you check with my committee to make sure that they're okay with that.
Of course. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
I agree with tabling that, tabling 26-21.
Very well. And Councilor David Cormier?
I go along with that as well.
Okay. So you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to table 26-21. Is there any further discussion on that? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of tabling 26-21, please say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay, by a vote of 9-0, 26-21 has been tabled. Moving on to 27-21. Is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 27-21, Elizabeth Wood, Economic Development and Planning Director. Request to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to solar. This is a similar situation as the prior petition. And I would ask that we table it until such time as the planning director is available. I would note, I know Patrick Perla from the planning board did a lot of work on this particular petition. So if he's interested in us advancing it, or any other member of the planning board, we certainly can. But for now, I think it's prudent to table it until such time as the planning director is available.
Very well.
I'd ask you to
I'll
poll my-
poll. Yes, I'll poll your committee. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr
I agree. Yep.
and Councilor David Cormier.
I also agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to table 27-21. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of tabling 27-21, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, 27-21 is tabled. Moving on to 47-21, is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 47-21, The Botanist, 1775 Lock Drive, request change of use of 1775 Lock Drive from a registered medical marijuana dispensary to an adult use marijuana facility engaged exclusively in product manufacturing on site. My recommendation would be to grant petition 47-21, and I would add two contingencies. I would make it subject to compliance with all state, federal, and local laws and regulations. I would also make it subject to a favorable final inspection by the police chief.
Okay.
And I just ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, are you in accord with the chairman's recommendation and conditions?
I am.
Very well. And Councilor David Cormier, same question. Are you in accord with the chairman's recommendation and conditions?
I'm in full accord.
Very well. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant 47-21 with the conditions that the chairman elicited. I guess that was full compliance with all applicable laws, as well as a favorable review of the security system by our chief of police. I stated that correctly, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay. And any further discussion on the recommendation of Legal Affairs?
Mr. President?
This is Councilor
I'm gonna-
Frida.
Okay, Councilor Frida, I heard Councilor
Go ahead,
Angelini.
I'll defer to Councilor Angelini. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think all we're doing with Councilor Angelini is noting his abstention. Correct,
Right.
Councilor Angelini?
Absolutely, Mr. President. Thank
Okay, thank you. Councilor Frida, you have the floor.
All right. Just want to reiterate, I think it's appropriate for those conditions. We did go through the building, few months back. Well, I guess we're talking years now, never mind months. forget how much time goes by since we've been in lockdown here. But it was the prior chief, and he had some concerns, and I think that it's certainly appropriate that a different chief go in with a different plan and make sure that everybody's in agreement there. I did have a long conversation with Mr. Doyle a couple of occasions, and it wasn't a secret that I've been pretty much against this whole project on that site. I'm glad to see that it's changed. We don't have to deal with a lot of traffic in and out and worrying about people driving out of there in a heavily truck traffic area after coming out of a retail shop. So it's manufacturing at its best, and the abutter is my understanding is satisfied. I didn't speak to him, but I did ask Mr. Doyle, and he's been speaking with him. So he's not concerned with the overflow traffic as he was prior. So I just think this is a good fit, and it keeps Leominster in the manufacturing and collecting the taxes and the dollars at the end of the road without having to worry about retail and police issues. So I'm happy to support this.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Frida. Is there any other member of the council that wishes to address 47-21?
Yes, Mr. President, Councilor David Cormier.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier.
I just want to, briefly say, and I'd echo the sentiments of the at-large council that normally would sit across from me. I mean, this is really the best case scenario for the city. I mean, the way this all ended up playing out, we're going to have a business that's going to generate a lot of revenue for us with very little problems, if any. I mean, I just can't see what kind of issues this is going to cause. I think we're lucky in how it all played out. And, it's been a few years now where a lot of people, I just got asked fairly recently what was going on with the building. And, I think it's a good situation for the city, where we took a piece of land that otherwise probably would have never been used. And we're going to have this kind of manufacturing there. We're going to make good revenue on it. And, it seems like everybody's going to be happy at the end of the day. So I'm happy that this is moving forward.
Very good. Any other councilor wish to address 47-21 before we vote? Okay, hearing none, this will be by roll call, starting with Councilor Frida.
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Feckley.
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger.
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 8-0 with Councilor Angelini abstaining. 47-21 is granted with the conditions as indicated by the chair of legal affairs. All right, moving on to C63. Is the chairman of legal affairs ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President. Communication 63, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the City Council establish the creation of a Human Rights Commission for the City of Leominster. We had a number of people speak tonight at the public forum asking for us to delay this. I think I'm pretty much sure everybody is in favor of this. It's just a question of how we do it. It's also my understanding that even if we were to pass this tonight, it would be largely ceremonial only. We sort of need an ordinance. We need to enact an ordinance in order for this to be a viable human rights commission. I would ask Mr. President, I think you're better versed on this than I am, if perhaps you could lend some edification to the council.
I think you're exactly right. If we voted on C63 without an ordinance attached to it, it's, as you said, I think that's the right word. It's ceremonial in nature. We are, of course, the legislative body, and we ultimately will have to enact the ordinance that creates the Human Rights Commission. I did have an opportunity to look at some of the ordinances in the various communities that have a Human Rights Commission, and there are some similarities and differences from community to community. But I would charge your committee, Mr. Chairman, with drafting an ordinance. I'm sure that you can get input from the mayor's office in that regard, and bring a recommendation to the full council. I'm mindful that that probably would occur through a subcommittee meeting or two, and that, of course, other councilors would be welcome to participate as well. So I think, based on what your suggestion is and what I think the state of affairs are with this, seems to me that further time is probably the appropriate remedy for this evening, but I'll leave that to you and your committee.
No, I tend to agree. I think further time is good, and I can take a stab at a rough first draft, and we can schedule a subcommittee meeting perhaps later this evening. I just ask you to poll my committee relative to further time and to being involved in drafting the ordinance.
Very well. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, your sense of this?
No, I think for the time, I think it is appropriate. And the work that was done by the group, several members spoke earlier tonight, and I hope that the council's been able to read the material that they did send. They've already done a lot of the legwork, so there's a lot of information that legal affairs would be able to pull from. So, no, I think that that's exactly the right way to go.
Okay, very well. Thank you. Councilor David Cormier?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I can certainly go along with further time, and I had looked into some issue had come up because I serve on the Disability Commission, and I realized the Disability Commission had fell under state statute. There is a state statute that dictates how disability commissions, the parameters of how they operate. So the first thing I did was I went and looked and see if there was any state statute regarding a human rights commission, and I couldn't find any. And through conversation I had with you, Mr. President, I don't believe you did either. And so what obviously would need to happen is we certainly need to add to Section 2 of our ordinance book, and if and when we come up with when we establish this, it'll likely be Article 29, if I'm looking at this correctly. And the more input we can get, the better. I know some questions already came up, regarding how we're going to appoint members and things like that, and those will be questions as we move forward that we can ask KP Law. It might be just recommendation type things, but at the end of the day, I think per the charter, the mayor has the final say, but that's all stuff we can hash out, and we have to hash out. So I think further time is appropriate, and we can look at a draft and go from there, and add things, delete things, or whatever we need to do with the input of the public as well. I think that'll be the best way to go.
Okay, well, there's little doubt there's some work to do here, that's for sure. So the unanimous recommendation of Legal Affairs is for further time. Is there any further discussion by the council?
And Mr. President, this is Councilor Frida.
Yes, Councilor Frida.
Through you to the chair of Legal Affairs Chair. Maybe in that subcommittee, maybe it would be a good idea to invite the members that spoke tonight, get a sense as to what they're looking for, and be able to move from that point on. I can also get some information. This is a huge issue on the Mass Municipal Association. I'm familiar with the Newton directives, and there are a couple of other. Arlington is involved in too. So there's a few communities that have already worked off issues out of the National League of Cities. So I can get some information that would help the committee as well through the MMA.
Thank you, Councilor Frida. I'm sure that will be helpful. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of further time for C63, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, C63 has been given further time. Moving on to the Ways and Means section of our agenda, we have a number of renewal of secondhand dealers licenses. Unless anybody has an objection, I think we could take 48-21 through, it looks like 53-21 in block. Madam Chairwoman,
Fine
are you
with
ready to
me.
report? Okay,
I'm all set.
okay.
Okay, 4821, ECO ATM LLC, request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 11 Jungle Road, Walmart number 2964. 4921, Dagan Inc., doing business as Hanush Jewelers, request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 100 Commercial Road, Mall at Whitney Field. 50-21, Diane Amadon, on behalf of Upscale Consignment, request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 875 Miriam Avenue, Suite 131. 5121, Everything Cutie Inc., doing business as Cuteeks, request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 37 Mechanic Street, second floor. 52-21, Everything Cutie Inc., doing business as Cutie Patooties, request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 1021 Central Street. 5321, Mace. Well,
Why don't
that's
we, actually,
okay.
why don't we,
Yes,
yeah,
I'm
why
going
don't we
to stop
stop
at that.
there?
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Yep. Just realized that. All right. So 4821 to 5221 was given regular course. We have all of the referrals and all is well. So my recommendation would be to approve the renewal of the licenses, and I'll ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. I'll check with Councilor Frida,
Yes, I'm good with that.
and I'll check with Councilor Dombrowski.
I'm also good with it.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to approve the licenses for 48-21, 49-21, 50-21, 51-21, and 52-21. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the renewal of all of those licenses, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, those licenses are approved. Moving on to 53-21, is the chairwoman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. 53-21, Mason Investments, Inc., renew bowling alley license for Mason Bowling Center, located at 640 North Main Street. Again, this is given regular course at our last meeting. We have our referrals, which were positive, so my recommendation would be to renew the bowling alley license for Mason's Bowling. I'll ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Frida
I agree.
and Councilor Dombrowski.
I agree.
We've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant the license for 53-21. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of granting the license, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? License is granted by a vote of 9-0. Moving on to 54-21.
54-21, Christopher Rivard, request to renew transient vendor license. Last time it was regular course on the agenda, and we have our positive referrals, so my recommendation would be to renew the transient vendor license, and I'll ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Frida
I agree.
and Councilor Dombrowski.
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant the license represented in 54-21. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none.
Mr. President, I just have to comment that Christopher Rivard's probably got one of the longest requests for transient license in the city. I mean, I can remember him 30 years ago getting his license, so he was probably there before me. So
Yeah, you're right.
He's been doing flowers for a long time.
He's definitely got longevity. There's no question about that. Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the license, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, the license for 54-21 has been granted. Moving on to new business. First reading of an ordinance. Is the Chairman of Legal Affairs ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 32-21. Elizabeth Wood, Planning and Economic Development Director, request to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to the floodplain. My recommendation is to adopt the first reading of the ordinance, and I'd ask you to poll my committee.
Yes, Councilor Shalfo Zephyr
I agree.
and Councilor David Cormier.
I also agree.
You've heard the MS recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant the first reading of the ordinance under 32-21. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. President, Councilor Angelini,
Yes, Councilor.
I just wanted to bring to the attention of the council, I believe I found a typo in this document here. Oh, yeah, on the last page, where it's signed by the city solicitor, halfway down the page, presented to May for approval. I believe that is intended to say presented to mayor for approval.
Seem eminently logical. I think that doesn't, unless someone disagrees, I'm not sure we need, I think it's a great catch, but I don't think we need an amendment. I think we just need the matter to be fixed, the typographical error to be fixed. Anybody have a different opinion of that?
No, I agree with that.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Councilor Angelini, for that. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, this will be by roll call, starting with Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Feckley,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier,
Yay.
and I shall be recorded as yea. The first reading of the ordinance is granted by a vote of 9-0. Moving on to 40-21, is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 40-21, David R. Cormier, Ward 3 Council. Request to install a stop sign on Lincoln Terrace against northbound drivers at Graham Street. My recommendation is to adopt the first reading, and I'd ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr
I agree.
and Councilor David Cormier.
I also agree.
For the MS recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant the first reading of the ordinance for 40-21, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call vote, starting with Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Feckley,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Arninger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 9-0. The first reading of 40-21 has been granted. Moving on to 41-21, is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 41-21, David R. Cormier, Ward 3 Councilor. Request to install a stop sign on Hardy Drive against northbound drivers at Union Street. Again, my recommendation is to adopt the first reading. I'd ask you to poll my committee.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
I agree.
Councilor David Cormier.
I also agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant 41-21. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call. Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Feckley,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 9-0. The first reading of 41-21 has been granted. Moving on to 42-21. Is the chairman ready to
Thank
report?
you. I am. Thank you, Mr. President. Petition 42-21, David R. Cormier, Ward 3 Councilor. Request to install a stop sign on Hardy Drive against westbound drivers at Pleasant Street. Again, my recommendation is to adopt the first reading of the ordinance. I'd ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Counselor Shalfo Zephyr,
I agree.
Counselor David Cormier.
I also agree.
Heard the unanimous recommendation of Legal Affairs to grant the first reading of the ordinance for 42-21. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call. Counselor Frida?
Yay.
Counselor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yay.
Counselor Feckley?
Yay.
Counselor Angelini?
Yay.
Counselor Arndinger?
Yay.
Counselor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
Counselor David Cormier?
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 9-0. The first reading of 42-21 is granted. Moving on to 43-21. Is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 43-21, David R. Cormier, Ward 3 Counselor. Request to install a stop sign on Francis Street against southeastbound drivers at Willard Street. My recommendation is to adopt the first reading. I'd ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Counselor Shalfo Zephyr
I agree.
and Counselor David Cormier.
I also agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant the first reading of 43-21. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call. Counselor Frida?
Yay.
Counselor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yay.
Counselor Feckley?
Yay.
Counselor Angelini?
Yay.
Counselor Arndinger?
Yay.
Counselor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
Counselor David Cormier?
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 9-0. The first reading of 43-21 has been adopted. Moving on to 44-21. Is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 44-21, David R. Cormier, Ward 3 Counselor. Request to install a stop sign on Tucker Drive against eastbound drivers at New Lancaster Road. My recommendation is to adopt the first reading of the ordinance. I'd ask you to poll my committee.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr
I agree.
and Counselor David Cormier.
I also agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of Legal Affairs to adopt the first reading of the ordinance for 44-21. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call. Counselor Frida?
Yay.
Counselor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yay.
Counselor Feckley?
Yay.
Counselor Angelini?
Yay.
Counselor Arndinger?
Yay.
Counselor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
Counselor David Cormier?
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 9-0. First reading of the ordinance for 44-21 has been granted. Moving on to old business. Second reading of ordinances, starting with 25-21. Is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 25-21, Elizabeth Wood, Economic Development and Planning Director. Request to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to home occupations. My recommendation is to adopt the second reading of the ordinance. I'd ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Counselor Shalfo Zephyr
I agree.
and Counselor David Cormier.
Also agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of Legal Affairs to adopt the second reading of the ordinance 25-21. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call, starting with Counselor Frida.
Yay.
Counselor Dombrowski.
Yay.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Counselor Feckley.
Yay.
Counselor Angelini.
Yay.
Counselor Arndinger.
Yay.
Counselor Pauline Cormier.
Yay.
Counselor David Cormier.
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 9-0. The second reading of 25-21 has been adopted. Moving on to 33-21. Is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 33-21, Gail Feckley, amend section 13-77, stop signs of the Leominster Municipal Code by adding a stop sign for southeastbound traffic on Linda Street at Day Street. My recommendation is to adopt the second reading. I'd ask you to poll my committee.
Okay, Counselor Shalfo Zephyr
I'm in agreement.
and Counselor David Cormier.
I also agree.
Okay, you heard the unanimous recommendation of Legal Affairs to adopt the second reading of 33-21. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call, starting with Councilor Frida.
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Feckley,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier,
Yay.
and I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. The second reading of 33-21 has been adopted. Moving on to 34-21, is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 34-21, Gail Feckley, amend section 13-77 stop signs of the Leominster Municipal Code by adding a stop sign for northwestbound traffic on Tina Street at Lincoln Street. My recommendation is to adopt the second reading. I'd ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr
I agree.
and Councilor David Cormier.
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt the second reading of the ordinance for 34-21. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call, starting with Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Feckley,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. The second reading of the ordinance is adopted for 34-21. Finally, moving on to 35-21. Mercifully, is the chairman ready to report?
I am. Petition 35-21, Gail Feckley, amend section 13-77 stop signs of the Leominster Municipal Code by adding a stop sign for southwestbound traffic on Tina Street at Linda Street. My recommendation is to adopt the second reading of the ordinance. I'd ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
I agree.
Councilor David Cormier.
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of Legal Affairs to adopt the second reading of the ordinance for 35-21. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call. Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Feckley,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier,
Yay.
and I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. The second reading of 35-21 has been adopted. Is there any additional new business or old business that we haven't covered yet?
President,
yes,
I
Mr.
have one
President.
item.
Councilor, okay, let's start with Councilor Dombrowski first.
Yeah, I just need to schedule a subcommittee meeting for Communication 63.
Okay,
I was thinking Wednesday, March 31st, around 5:30. Does that work for Councilor Shalfo Zephyr and Councilor Cormier?
It works for me, Counselor. You said 5:30
Okay.
on the 31st?
It's just a suggestion. I mean, whatever time works for you guys.
I think that's fine.
I made an appointment for that night to have something done.
Okay.
I might be able to move it, but my appointment's at 6, so.
I could do.
I can do it
March
unless
30th.
another night that works for you just as easily.
Yeah, I could do March 30th,
Yeah, that's fine.
Tuesday. Does that work, Councilor Zephyr?
I am just looking. Hold on 1 minute. The 30th? That works. The 30th works as well.
okay.
Okay, and I just also want to thank Councilor Frida, and I don't know if that's enough time, Councilor Frida, for you to put those examples from Mass Municipal. If
No, I
that's enough
should be
time
able
for
to
you
do
to do that. Okay, and also along the lines of Councilor Frida's request, Caitlin, if we could just try to invite the people that called,
Absolutely.
let them know about this as well as the mayor.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. That's it for me.
All right, thank you. Councilor David Cormier, did you have something?
Thank you. Yes, probably should have this put on the agenda, but unaccepted street, we voted to accept a few, and I'm assuming that they have been done yet. Some from a little over a year ago and some more recent. And I was just wondering, Mr. President, if somebody can look and see what's going on.
Okay, well, I'll inquire through the Madam Clerk with the City Solicitor's Office, and if you want to put that on the agenda for the next meeting, Madam Clerk, we can share with the council what we find out.
Absolutely. I already did send an email to Sharon. Follow.
We served on the Foundation Budget Review Commission together in 2000, so he knows it inside out. There's also a portion by request again from some councilors that for new construction and how states determine the contribution rate. But I mean, that's not something that we need, but might be something the council is interested in learning how it's done. But I just wanted to be sure everybody had an idea that that's being presented for at least the budget part.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Anybody else?
Was that 12 o'clock?
12 to 1:30.
Yep. April 8th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other council have?
There's no cost, but you just have to register. Or let me know and I'll do it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, any other council have anything? All right, anything on the community calendar? Okay, hearing nothing, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion, Councilor David Cormier.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Councilor Pauline Cormier. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Have a safe and good week, everyone. Enjoy the weather.
Thank you. Good night,
This
everyone.
conference is no longer being
Good night.
recorded.
The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com.